OMG? Is XRP actually taking over parts of the financial system? That sounds wild, I know, and before your mind jumps to extreme conclusions, let's slow this down and talk about what people really mean when they say things like that. Because there's a massive difference between hype-driven claims and structural shifts that happen quietly in the background. Before we get into it, if you enjoy calm, fact-based conversations about crypto and markets without fear or hype, go ahead and tap the like button right now. And subscribe if you want more content that focuses on understanding how systems actually work instead of chasing price predictions. Alright, let's get into this. When people hear phrases like taking over the financial system, they imagine something dramatic. Banks collapsing overnight, currencies being replaced, everything flipping instantly. That's not how real financial change happens. Real systems don't get taken over. They evolve layer by layer, process by process, often without most people noticing. XRP was never designed to replace the entire financial system. That's one of the biggest misunderstandings out there. It was designed to improve specific pain points, especially around cross-border payments, settlement speed, and liquidity efficiency. That distinction matters because solving one critical problem at scale can be far more impactful than trying to replace everything. Right now, the global financial system still relies heavily on slow, expensive, and fragmented payment rails. Money can move instantly within apps, but behind the scenes, settlement often takes days. That gap between user experience and infrastructure is exactly where technologies like XRP aim to operate. When people speculate about extreme price numbers like $10,000, it's usually driven by emotion, not structure. Numbers like that grab attention, but attention isn't the same as feasibility. What actually matters is understanding supply, use cases, velocity, and the role an asset plays within a system. Markets don't price dreams. They price utility, risk, and adoption over time. One reason XRP keeps coming up in serious conversations is because it's been tested in environments that many other crypto assets haven't. Regulatory scrutiny, institutional evaluation, and real-world pilots are not theoretical stress tests. They're real ones. Surviving them doesn't guarantee success, but it does filter out a lot of unrealistic assumptions. In the United States, financial institutions don't adopt technology based on excitement. They adopt it when it reduces cost, improves efficiency, and fits within compliance frameworks. That's a slow process by design. Speed without control is a liability in finance. This is why XRP's progress often feels invisible. It's happening at the infrastructure level, not the influencer level. You don't see it trending every day because infrastructure doesn't trend. It either works or it doesn't. The financial system isn't a single entity. It's a network of systems, rules, incentives, and legacy processes layered over decades. No single technology flips that overnight, but technologies can become embedded within it, quietly, until removing them becomes inconvenient. That's how real takeover happens, not through dominance, but through dependence. When XRP is discussed in the context of payments, liquidity bridging, or settlement efficiency, it's being evaluated as a tool, not a rebellion, and tools that work tend to stick around. Another reason XRP draws attention is because it doesn't rely on mining or massive energy consumption. In a world increasingly focused on efficiency and sustainability, that design choice matters more now than it did years ago. Markets also mature over time. Early crypto cycles rewarded bold narratives and rapid innovation. Later cycles reward reliability, compliance, and integration. As the space matures, the criteria for success change. This is where a lot of confusion comes from. People expect price behavior from a market that no longer exists. The rules evolve, the incentives shift. Volatility doesn't disappear, but its causes change. It's also important to understand that institutions don't move based on price charts. They move based on cost-benefit analysis. If a system saves time, reduces friction, and lowers risk, it gets tested. If it works, it gets expanded. That process can take years. Charts don't reflect that patience very well. Another layer to this conversation is global coordination. Financial systems aren't unified. Different regions adopt technology at different speeds. What stalls in one country may progress in another. XRP operates in that global environment, not just within one regulatory framework. That means adoption doesn't happen in a straight line. It's uneven, fragmented, and often misunderstood. This is why extreme certainty, positive or negative, rarely holds up over time. Markets punish overconfidence far more more consistently than they punish caution. The idea that XRP could suddenly take over everything tomorrow is unrealistic. The idea that it could gradually become embedded in certain financial workflows is far more reasonable, and reasonable outcomes are often the ones people overlook. Price speculation tends to compress timelines. Infrastructure development expands them. When those two perspectives collide, frustration follows. If you're watching this and feeling pulled between excitement and skepticism, that's a healthy place to be. Blind belief is dangerous. Total dismissal is lazy. Understanding lives somewhere in between. The financial system doesn't reward emotion, it rewards preparation. Another thing people misunderstand is scale. For a digital asset to reach extreme valuations, it doesn't just need demand, it needs a role that justifies that demand. Speculation alone doesn't scale sustainably. Utility does. That doesn't mean XRP will or won't reach any specific number. No one knows that. What it does mean is that price discussions without structural context are incomplete. XRP's story, regardless of where it goes next, is a lesson in how technology, regulation, and markets interact over long periods of time. It's not a fairy tale, and it's not a failure story either. It's an ongoing process. No asset succeeds just because people want it to, and no asset fails just because it's quiet. What matters is whether it continues to solve a real problem in a way that scales responsibly. That's the lens through which serious participants view this space. Whether or not XRP ever reaches extreme price levels is unknowable. What is knowable is that exaggerated certainty doesn't help anyone make better decisions. If something truly changes in the financial system, it won't arrive with fireworks. It will arrive with efficiency, and efficiency rarely looks exciting in real time. Markets move, narratives change, attention shifts. The people who last are the ones who learn how to separate signal from noise. And that skill, more than any price prediction, is what actually compounds over time. And continuing from that same thought, the real challenge for most people isn't understanding technology or even markets. It's understanding time. Humans are wired for immediate feedback. We like quick results, fast confirmation, and visible progress. Financial systems, on the other hand, evolve slowly, deliberately, and often invisibly. That mismatch creates frustration, especially in a space like crypto where narratives move faster than reality. When you hear people say XRP could become deeply embedded in the financial system, they're not talking about headlines. They're talking about plumbing. And plumbing is never glamorous, but it's essential. You don't think about it until it stops working. That's how infrastructure becomes powerful. Not because it's loud, but because it's relied upon. One of the most overlooked aspects of financial evolution is inertia. Legacy systems don't change easily because they don't have to, until they do. As long as something works well enough, there's little incentive to replace it. But when inefficiencies stack up, costs rise, and global expectations shift, pressure builds quietly. That pressure doesn't explode overnight. It leaks until change becomes inevitable. This is where digital settlement technologies start to matter. Speed isn't just about convenience, it's about risk reduction. The longer a transaction takes to settle, the more exposure exists. Reducing settlement time reduces uncertainty, and in finance, reducing uncertainty is often more valuable than increasing returns. XRP was designed around that principle, not to excite traders, but to reduce friction. That's a very different goal, and it leads to very different outcomes over time. Another reason this conversation gets so distorted is because people focus on ownership rather than usage.